In this particular problem, problem 3, we're going to be working on calculating buyer gains and seller based on whether you have a price floor in the market or you are lacking a price floor. So to be able to do that, we're going to have to go in and we're going to have several columns that we're going to have to fill out. So the numbers that I'm using are going to be based off of one of your Applia problem sets. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the buyer column here. And of course, we know that the buyers number 1 through 12. All right, and then out to the side of that, we're going to have the buyer value. And the numbers that we're using for the values are going to be 16, 15.5, 15, 14, 13.5, 13, 12.5, 12, 11, 10.5, 10, and 9.5. All right. Then I need 2 more columns, and we'll fill these in just a moment. I am going to calculate the gain without the floor, the price floor, and then we're going to calculate the gain with the price floor. All right. Then on the seller side, I'm going to have the number of sellers, and of course we have 12 of those as well. All right, and then we have the cost side for the seller, and the numbers that we'll be using again are from your Applia problem set. So these are going to be $4, $4.50, $5, $6, $6.50, $7, $7.50, $8, $9, $9.50, $10, and $10.50. All right, so there's the information that we have given to us in the Applia problem set. And then I'm also going to have one more line here, and this is going to be the seller gain, and I will specify seller up here. This is going to be the seller gain, and this one, according to the Applia problem set that I'm using, is with the floor. All right, looking something like that. All right, so we'll fill this all in here in just a moment. Now, first of all, in the Applia problem set, it states that when we go in and we take a look at this particular market, so we have a downward sloping demand curve, here's your price, and here's your quantity. We have an upward sloping supply curve. So in the particular example that I'm looking at, the equilibrium price in the market is going to be $10. So when I say that we're going to be looking at the gain without the price floor, then the price that we're going to be using in this particular situation is going to be the $10 equilibrium price. And then the one that I'm looking at says that we're going to start going in and we're going to insert a price ceiling. In this case, I said floor. I apologize. This should be ceiling. All right, and this should be ceiling. And then this should be ceiling. All right. So we're going to be putting in, and we're going to be also looking at the gains if we go in and put in a price ceiling of $8.50. So remember again, a ceiling is something that you can't go above. Okay, so the first thing that they want us to do is to go in and calculate the gains that sellers will have if in fact we have a price ceiling of $8.50. All right, to calculate the gain to the seller. So we're going to use the equation that the seller gain is going to be equal to the price minus the seller cost. So in this particular case, the seller cost is going to be this column right here. And since we're going in and assuming that we have a price ceiling that is in place, then the price is going to be $8.50. So our equation is going to be $8.50 minus each one of these costs. So in other words, then, if we go in and we calculate this, we take our $8 for seller 1, we take our $8.50 minus the cost of $4, then we have a gain of $4.50. All right, so then you take your $8.50 minus 4.5, you get a gain of $4. $8.50 minus $5 gives us 3.5, and so on. 2.5, 2, 1.5, 1, and 1.5. Now, interestingly enough, when we get down to the ninth seller, if you take $8.50 minus 9, then you actually have a negative 0.5. So in that case, when the seller has a negative gain, the sale will not be made, and so that is where we are going to cut this off. So if you're going in and you're looking at the gains, then if you go in and add this entire column of numbers together, you're going to get a number of $19.50 for the total amount of seller gain. Okay. After that, then, question 3.2 asks, as a group, are the sellers better off with the price floor or worse off with the price floor? Well, it turns out that in the instructions that they gave us, if we did not have a price ceiling that was in place, they told us that the total seller gain was going to be equal to $33. So in this particular case, we actually have less gain, right? Because the gain now is $19.50 with the ceiling in place, whereas we would have a gain of $33 without the ceiling. So we are actually better off in this case without the ceiling in place, at least from the seller's point of view. All right, section 3.3 then goes in and asks us, well, what if we go in and we compare the gain to the first 8 buyers with and without the price ceiling? All right, so to go in and figure this out, then the buyer gain is going to be equal to the buyer value, which is going to be this column right here, minus the price. So to calculate the first buyer gain column, the price is going to be equal to $10. So we go in and take our $16 minus 10, and that's going to give us a gain of $6. $15.50 minus 10 will give us a gain of 5.5. 15 minus 10 will give us 5, and so on. So if we go in and complete this column, 13 minus 10 will give us 3, 2.5, 2, 11 minus 10 will give us 1, 0.50, and then it goes negative. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and get a little bit ahead of ourselves here, and we're going to go ahead and calculate the gain to the buyer with the ceiling. So remember now the price ceiling is $8.50. So now when we use this particular formula, the price that we're going to insert now is going to be the $8.50. So we take the value, which is again $16, minus $8.50, so that gives us a gain of 7.5. 15 at 50 minus 8.5 gives us 7. And then right on down the line. 6.5, 5.5, 5, 4.5, 4, 3.5, 2.5, 2, 1.5, and then 9.5 minus 8.5 is going to give us 1. Okay, so there's the numbers that we're going to have to be using. So what this asks is, in number 3.3, is that if we go in and we calculate the total gain of the first 8 buyers, so that's buyers 1 through 8, what number is that going to total up to be if we have the price ceiling in place? So if you go in and you calculate the first 8 buyers, all right, so that's going to be these numbers right here. So if you go in and you add those together, you're going to get a number of $43.50 worth of gain with the ceiling in place. Now, oddly enough, if you went in and you calculated the gain for the first 8 buyers without the ceiling in place, you would only come up with a number of $31.50. So it is clear, and this is one of the answers to question 3.4. In this particular case, the gain with the ceiling, which is $43.50, is greater than the gain without the ceiling of $31.50 for the first 8 buyers. All right. Then the last thing they want you to do is to go in and calculate the gain with the ceiling. If you take a look at the last 8 buyers, in other words, buyers 5 through 12. So since we already have those numbers available, then we can go in and we can take buyers 5 through 12. So this is going to be this group of buyers right here. So if I go in and calculate those numbers, then I end up with $24. All right, and then if I go in and I calculate the other side, it doesn't even come out to be close to the $24. So section 3.6, the gain with the ceiling is less than the gain without the ceiling for buyers 5 through 12.